Language of branches. Kabbalah, the mystical tradition of Judaism, contains a unique and profound system of symbolic language known as the language of branches, safat HaAnafim. This method of communication is used by Kabbalists to describe spiritual realities through physical metaphors. Because divine concepts exist beyond human perception, Kabbalists employ the imagery of the material world to represent higher, unseen spiritual forces. This essay explores the origins, principles, and significance of the language of branches in Kabbalistic thought. The mystical dimensions of the universe are described in Kabbalah as higher worlds beyond ordinary human comprehension. These higher realms, known as the four worlds, Atzilut, Bariah, Yetzirah, and Asiyah, operate according to spiritual laws that are entirely different from physical reality. However, Kabbalists believe that everything in the physical world originates from these higher spiritual forces, much like a tree's branches grow from an unseen root. Because spiritual forces cannot be perceived directly, they must be described using physical parallels, hence the development of the language of branches. This language allows Kabbalists to speak about abstract, divine processes using terms that relate to the material world. The core idea of the language of branches is that every physical entity in this world. The branch is a reflection of a corresponding spiritual force, the root in the higher worlds. Example: fire represents divine judgment, Jevira. Water represents divine kindness and mercy, Chist. A father and son in the physical world symbolize the transmission of divine wisdom from a higher level to a lower one. The connection between root and branch is not arbitrary, based on laws of spiritual causation. Just as a tree's branches are nourished by the roots, physical reality is an outgrowth of divine spiritual forces. The Zohar and the language of branches. The Zohar, the foundational text of Kabbalah, is written almost entirely in the language of branches. It describes spiritual realities in the form of earthly imagery, using parables and metaphorical narratives. For example, when the Zohar speaks of the king and the queen, it refers to the divine aspects of God known as Zir Anpin, Tiferet, and Malchat. The term Zivagunyan refers to the spiritual merging of divine energies rather than a physical marriage. The temple in Jerusalem is not just a historical building, but also represents the divine structure of the higher worlds. The Zohar uses this symbolic language. It hides its inner meaning from those who are not trained in Kabbalistic interpretation. The importance of correct interpretation. The language of branches can easily lead to misunderstandings if taken literally rather than as a symbolic system. Throughout history, some people have misinterpreted Kabbalistic texts as referring to physical beings or supernatural events, when in reality, they describe spiritual processes. For example, when Kabbalah speaks of angels ascending and descending, it is not referring to physical beings flying through the air, but rather to spiritual forces moving between different levels of existence. The serpent in the Garden of Eden is not merely an animal but represents the force of spiritual impurity that tempts humanity. Without an understanding of the language of branches, people may fall into literalism or superstition, rather than perceiving the deeper meaning. The language of branches and biblical interpretation. The Torah and other biblical texts are also written in the language of branches. Many of the stories in the Bible, such as the Exodus from Egypt, the lives of the patriarchs, and the journey to the Promised Land, are not just historical events, but also represent deep spiritual processes. For example, Egypt, Mitzrayim, represents a state of spiritual exile and limitation. Moshe symbolizes the force of divine wisdom that leads the soul toward liberation. Pharaoh represents the ego and material desires that keep a person enslaved. Kabbalists study the Torah using the language of branches to reveal hidden mystical teachings beyond the simple narrative. The language of branches in Kabbalistic meditation and prayer. Since everything in the physical world has a corresponding spiritual root, Kabbalists use words, letters, and symbols to connect with higher realities. This is the foundation of Kabbalistic meditation, Hitbonenut, and mystical prayer. The Hebrew alphabet itself is based on the spiritual structure of creation, and every letter carries divine energy. Kabbalists meditate on the Sefer and their corresponding earthly symbols to ascend in consciousness. By using the names of God and sacred formulas, they activate the spiritual forces hidden behind the physical words. This approach sees language as a tool for bridging the material and the divine. The influence of the language of branches on later mysticism. The language of branches influenced many mystical traditions outside of Judaism, including Christian Kabbalists, who sought to interpret the New Testament through mystical symbolism; alchemy, which uses material symbols, gold, fire, mercury to describe spiritual transformation; Sufi mysticism, which also uses metaphorical language to describe the soul's journey toward God. The idea that material things symbolize spiritual realities became a foundation for esoteric traditions worldwide. The language of branches as a tool for spiritual growth. The language of branches is one of the key principles of Kabbalistic wisdom. It provides a bridge between the physical and spiritual worlds, allowing people to understand divine realities through earthly metaphors. It helps decode the Zohar and other mystical texts. It allows deeper understanding of the Torah's hidden teachings. It serves as a tool for meditation, prayer, and spiritual ascent. However, it also requires careful interpretation to avoid literal misunderstandings. For those who seek true spiritual insight, learning the language of branches opens the door to a deeper, more mystical understanding of reality. The language of branches, safat HaAnafim, is a symbolic system in Kabbalah where physical objects, events, and concepts represent corresponding spiritual forces in the higher worlds. Below is a comprehensive list of key terms and their deeper meanings in Kabbalistic thought. Divine forces and emanations. Ein Sof, the infinite, unknowable divine essence. Or Ein Sof, infinite light, divine energy permeating all existence. Sefer, the 10 divine emanations through which God interacts with the world. Shekinah, the divine presence, particularly in the lower worlds. Malchut, kingship, receptivity, the final stage of divine manifestation. Spiritual realms and creation. Atzilut, world of emanation, closest to the divine. Bariah, world of creation, where divine ideas take form. Yetzirah, world of formation, where spiritual blueprints are shaped. Asiyah, world of action, the material realm. Adam Kadmon, primordial man, the first divine projection before the worlds. Light and vessels, or Enkelim. Or, light, divine energy or consciousness. Kelim, vessels, the structures that receive divine light. Shever Hakalim, shattering of the vessels, the cosmic rupture leading to Tikkun. Tikkun, rectification, the process of restoring divine harmony. Soul and spiritual levels. Nefesh, the basic life force connected to physical existence. Ruach, the emotional and moral aspect of the soul. Neshama, the intellectual and divine aspect of the soul. Cheya, the level of divine will and faith. Yechida, the highest soul level, absolute unity with the divine. Torah and revelation. Torah, divine wisdom, both revealed and concealed. Pardes, 4 levels of Torah interpretation. Peshet, literal meaning. Remez, allegorical hints. Darash, midrashic, moral, or homiletic teachings. Sod, secret, Kabbalistic wisdom. Etzhaim, the tree of life, representing divine wisdom and the Seferit. Angels and spiritual beings. Malachim, angels, divine messengers. Sandalphon, angel associated with prayers rising to heaven. Metatron, the highest angel, linked to divine transmission. Cherubim, angelic beings guarding divine knowledge. Seraphim, fiery angels representing divine passion. Evil and the forces of concealment. Klippot, shells, forces of spiritual concealment and impurity. Sipra Akra, the other side, forces of separation from God. Samiel, an angel of judgment, associated with negativity. Lilith, a mythological figure representing unrestrained desire, human experience and spiritual struggles. Yetzer Tov, the good inclination, aligned with divine will. Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, selfish or materialistic desires. Teshuvah, repentance, returning to divine connection. Bichel, self-nullification before the divine. Symbols in nature. Fire, divine judgment. Jevura, purification. Water, divine kindness. Cheesed, Torah wisdom. Wind, spirit, karma, movement, divine communication. Earth, physicality, humility, stability. Sun, the revealed light of divine truth. Moon, reflection of divine light, feminine aspect, Malchut. The human body as a divine symbol. Head, wisdom, Chachma, intellect, divine contemplation. Heart, understanding, Bina, emotions, divine love and fear. Eyes, perception, spiritual awareness. Mouth, divine speech, creative power. Hands, action, divine kindness or judgment. Feet, foundation, yesed, stability, the path of righteousness. The sacred and the profane. Temple, the divine structure of the universe. Jerusalem, the spiritual center, symbolizing divine unity. Exile, spiritual separation, distance from divine presence. Redemption, the return to divine awareness and harmony. The tree of life and its symbolism. Keter, crown, divine will, beyond comprehension. Chachma, wisdom, the initial flash of divine insight. Bina, understanding, contemplation, divine intelligence. Chesed, loving kindness, expansion of divine mercy. Gevurah, strength, divine discipline and judgment. Tiferet, beauty, harmony between mercy and judgment. Netzach, victory, perseverance, divine endurance. Had, splendor, humility, divine submission. Yesod, foundation, divine connection and transmission. Malchet, kingship, the physical world receiving divine influence. A universal mystical code. The language of branches is more than a symbolic system. It is the spiritual DNA of reality, revealing how divine forces shape our world. Understanding these symbols allows seekers to interpret Kabbalistic texts like the Zohar, decipher biblical mysteries hidden in metaphors, and alien their lives with divine wisdom through contemplation and practice. Mastering this sacred language opens the gates to higher consciousness and divine connection, guiding the soul toward